This is what he said, Mr. Deputy Attorney General. He said, the douchebags are about to come out. He's talking about our First Lady and children, this conflict of interest-free special agent of the FBI. This is who we were told we needed to have an objective, impartial, fair, conflict of interest-free investigation. So he's openly pulling for the candidate he had a role in clearing, and he's openly investigating a candidate that he has bias against. And then if that's not enough, he says Trump is an effing idiot. What the F just happened to our country? This is the same man that said he would save our country. What happens when people who are supposed to cure the conflict of interest have even greater conflicts of interest than those they replace?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host Jay, and this is The Objective. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the 33rd episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. Today we have a full show. So let's get right into it. But before we get into the show, the quote of the day, let's see if I can get this right. Be a product of your choices, not a victim of your circumstances. Be a product of your choices, not a victim of your circumstances. The first part of that quote, it requires a level of intentionality and initiative on your behalf. The second part, being a victim to circumstances, is more of a lackadaisical, go with the wind kind of lifestyle. When the winds go that way, that's where I go, because my sails are just open. I just go with the wind. I don't have an end goal. My end goal in life isn't being happy. It's just going with the wind, living life. That's an easy way to fall into depression. It's an easy way to just live a lower quality life. If you're more intentional and you determine how you react to different circumstances rather than allowing the circumstances to dictate how you interact with people and how you just live your general life, I think that as we go into the new year, which is right around the corner, we should experiment with that. Because I'm no psychic, I'm no prophet, but I'll tell you, 2018 is going to have some struggles in store for you. Sorry to say. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. So as we go into 2018 and the struggles and face the struggles that it has to bring before us, I think it would be good for us to, just try to be intentional about how we react to both the victories and the struggles. Okay. Moving into the news, folks, this is a big story, especially for Democrats. This is huge for Democrats. Don't be mistaken. This is absolutely a big victory for Democrats. The special election in Alabama last night, Roy Moore, the Republican candidate, versus Doug Jones, the Democrat candidate. In the last 25 years, Alabama has been a ruby red state. But that has all changed when Doug Jones won last night. There are people who dispute the victory, but at the end of the day, all I can say is everything other than what has been presented would be speculation. So it was a huge upset. At one point, Roy Moore was up like 40,000 votes, and slowly but surely, Doug Jones made his way as more of the Democratic states, or not states, sorry, but counties and towns started getting their votes in. So that was a huge upset and a big victory. It gives the Democrats the ammunition they need to basically resist or obstruct the Trump legislative agenda. So this was a loss for Trump. Don't be mistaken. This was a loss for Trump because he did call his supporters to rally behind Roy Moore. And just on this topic, before we move to the next, and I talked to my Democrat friends, and they acknowledge, the thing is, my Democrat friends, yes, I have my biases, they have their biases, we're human, but you can still, even with biases, you're still able to think objectively. Okay, you are still able to do that. Don't get it twisted. And that kind of goes into what we're going to talk about next. Roy Moore was viciously, vehemently attacked by the media. These allegations were very tactically inserted into the news cycle. And let's see how much you hear about it now that he's no longer a candidate. Just keep your eyes and ears open, okay? But the reason I bring that up is because in politics, it becomes ever clear that the court of public opinion transcends and supersedes the court of law, especially when you're talking about politics. Because politics is all about swaying people, you would think, and that sounds very manipulative, but essentially that's what politics has turned into. Swaying people, trying to change opinions, trying to manipulate and persuade people. Really greasy, slimy stuff. And that's why it's so important to, just as a citizen, be as knowledgeable, be as well read, be as objective as you can, weigh information that you get. Because in a world where information is so freely accessible, there are people like me, for example, podcasts, radio, vlogs, political pundits, political analysts, political commentators. There's so many opinions. There's so many opinions to be had, and we just have to be cognizant that there's such thing as groupthink, and it's easy to be a consumer. It's very simple. That's a decision that some people make. I'd rather consume the information than go out and read and research and learn on my own. And that's just the way that it is, folks. So I implore you to just be someone who does their research and who thinks objectively. But getting back to the topic of the court of public opinion versus the court of law, we don't want to be a society where we move from being innocent until proven guilty to being guilty by accusation. That's something we don't want. Let me get my background back here. Talking too long, guys. There we go. So we definitely want to move away from that. But moving to my next topic, don't have too much time here. There was a oversight hearing. The House Judiciary Committee oversight hearing. The subject in this hearing was Rod Rosenstein in relation to perceived bias in the Mueller team investigating Trump. There have been many revelations, Democratic donors being chosen as his lawyers to go against Trump, the opposition, Peter Strzok with the tens of thousands of emails to his mistress, and now learning that he had his hand in the Trump dossier. The dossier had tons of salacious and just disgusting and unverified and grossly untrue claims and allegations against the president. For example, I'll give you an example. One of them was that when he went to Russia, he was in a hotel with prostitutes and they were urinating on him, like real National Enquirer stuff. And this stuff was published, it was pushed, but that's not even the point. Opposition research, it would be unrealistic to say that that stuff doesn't happen in a political campaign. Fair enough, okay? The issue is this. There are currently, Rod Rosenstein is being questioned, especially by Jim Jordan, Representative Jim Jordan. And he was asked, he said, first, and these two things that I'm going to bring forth to you lie at the crux of this investigation, meaning that if these things are proven true, then the investigation falls apart as illegal, unconstitutional. So Jim Jordan, he asked Rod Rosenstein, he said, did Peter Strzok, not even did Peter Strzok, he said, was the Trump dossier used to obtain the FISA warrant? Was it used in the application to obtain the FISA warrant? The reason why, if this is true, it will bring turmoil and gnashing of teeth to the Democratic Party and the FBI is because we know for a fact Hillary's campaign paid for the dossier. There is word going around that the FBI also paid for the dossier. If this is true, that would mean that the FBI, a supposedly apolitical entity, put money towards opposition research. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is that the FBI is not a political party. It's not a political branch. It's supposed to be completely apolitical, completely unbiased. Okay, so one, if it can 100% be confirmed that the dossier has connections, financial connection to the FBI, that goes towards the unconstitutional investigation. Two, if it can be proven that the dossier was used in the application to obtain the FISA warrant against the president. Oh, I hope it's not true. Okay, now we'll leave it at that. But I truly hope that is not true. Trey Gowdy, and I'm going to say this in closing, very interesting point he brought up at the hearing. And this, it really opened my eyes, and I hope it's going to open your eyes right now. The whole purpose of a special counsel, you don't just, whenever crimes are committed, you don't call a special counsel. You call the appropriate law enforcement personnel. So if it's like a city crime, or just say a murder, right? A murder, you'd call the police, whoever has jurisdiction of that area, to deal with it. And then you have stuff where if it's a terrorist charge or it's a financial, like different branches, not different branches of government, but different branches of law enforcement deal with different kinds of offenses. Okay. So there's generally, that's how it works. Law enforcement, they respond and they lay charges accordingly, is what I'm trying to say. A special counsel is only brought into the picture for one reason, one main reason, and that is to get rid of the element of bias. And in the political realm right now, it's so divisive, it's so political. Now more than ever, people are more polarized in their political views and the way that they view the world. So it was a bipartisan agreement to bring in a special counsel in this whole investigation, because you want at the end of the investigation, you want people to say, okay, this was fair. This is what we did. We can be okay with that. And regardless, you're going to have critics on both sides. But generally speaking, a special counsel is there to remove the element of bias. Trey Gowdy said, but everything that we're learning about Peter Strzok, Democratic donations from the Mueller team, it points to bias. Like, they read some of the text messages that Peter Strzok sent, and they were so obscene and vulgar and just demeaning that they couldn't even read them on live TV. So it really makes you wonder, and this looks horrible. Public faith in the FBI it's literally a joke. And until justice is served, and until the truth is uncovered about what took place at the beginning points of this whole Trump-Russia collusion investigation, the proof that this is actually a legitimate investigation, once all this stuff comes out, and if it's dealt with properly, and those who are guilty of conflict of interest and unconstitutional investigations and government overstep are held accountable, that is when the public will start rebuilding and regaining trust in the judicial branch. And that's it. So keep your eyes open. Weigh the information you're given. Read multiple sources. Okay? But most of all, folks, I want you to make it your goal to be objective. Have a good night.